What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we got another behind the scenes look at the development of Modern Warfare 4, and in this video, they focus primarily on the multiplayer side of things, and most importantly, they showed off a bunch of clips of actual full quality first-person gameplay showing off the various movement techniques that you can use in the game. So first, I want to focus on those clips and talk about them. However, there's also a bunch of little bits of information that we can gather from that video. Once again, taking like screenshots of monitors in the background. Definitely some interesting tidbits of information there, but let's dive into it with these specific clips. And with the first one here, this is on the map Mumbai, and the first thing I noticed movement-wise is the high mantle is quite fast. So you can see the character grabbing the ledge into a ledge hang, but that immediately transitions into quite a fast mantle from a high mantle like that. Which is nice to see. That was one little complaint that I had with the mantling in Modern Warfare 2, with that ledge hang especially. It seemed like there was like a delay before you can transition into animations, and while it might be realistic, it did feel unnecessarily limiting in some ways. And it was one of the reasons that I just wish we could disable the ledge hang entirely so we didn't have to have that transition. I just wanted to mantle over something, and it looks like you'll be able to do that noticeably faster in this game. So that appears to be much faster there. You can also see tack sprint is the default movement mechanic. That has been confirmed multiple times, but just wanted to make sure I'm pointing that out since we are talking about movement here. And then the clip ends off with a slide. As for the next clip, this is on the map Silkworm, and the first thing we see here is a slide into supine prone. So you're sliding into a prone on your back, and then recovery from that. And the main thing I wanted to point out, because I was initially a little bit concerned when I saw this supine prone slide, as I feel like that's something that will likely end up being abused, it did look like there was a little bit of a delay, a pause there before the character could get up after that. And I think that's important for a mechanic like that to ensure that people aren't just like slide to prone, slide to prone, slide to prone all over the map as they're navigating through the map. And that's where I want to point out this other clip as well. We can see from a third-person perspective, somebody sliding into supine prone. And that's something where if you're able to cancel that recovery time, that worries me a little bit. But again, it does seem like they have added a respectable delay there. So there is some downside to performing this action, and I don't think you'll be able to spam it too crazy. At least I hope not. But then after that, you can see just how quickly the character mantles over the car. That low mantle is very fast. I don't know if we've ever seen a mantle that fast in Call of Duty. That definitely seems faster than what I can remember, at least in COD. And I like that. I often have felt like the mantle speed in recent Call of Duty games just hasn't really matched up with your ability to do other things. So it just felt kind of awkward that you could feel like a super soldier in many ways, but then you run into a low piece of cover and suddenly you're just a regular human. Then for the next clip on the map Lotus here, we get our first look at pipe climbing. This is something that we have heard about from the content creators as well, that you can climb up various pipes on the map instead of using ladders, for instance. So definitely some parkour elements. And it's also worth noting you can transition that into a high mantle and get yourself up onto this ledge. So that's pretty cool. I quite like the looks of that. It's a minor detail, but it's kind of nice to not have random weird ladders everywhere that just doesn't make sense. And in some ways, a pipe would make a lot more sense visually, but it provides that same utility now as a ladder would in the past. And then finally, for these movement clips they shared, we've got this one here, which shows off slide to mantle. So you can slide directly into a mantle, no awkward delay or anything there. So really smooth transitions. And then they do it again right here from a tactical sprint. And so it looks like you will be able to navigate through the map quite quickly, way faster than I expected from an Infinity Ward game. And if anything, I thought they were going to be like dialing things back quite a bit this time around. And while this still might be dialed back relative to like Black Ops 7 and their omni movement and wall bounces and everything, this does appear to be way faster than Modern Warfare 2. Which for me, I'm excited for because I love a lot of movement, but I'm very curious to see how the actual gameplay plays out and gunfights play out surrounding this. What are the timings on things like slide to fire, dive to fire, slide to supine prone fire times? Is that a separate timing? Is this going to be another game where it's all about movement and that's the entire skill gap, or not? Throughout this video, they were talking about how things are balanced for other playstyles, so if you want to slow down and play a bit more smart, you can do that as well, or you can be super sweaty and move like crazy. But those are just words. We haven't seen the game in the hands of the community yet to see how well they can abuse and break things. And I just wanted to express that little bit of concern that I have for the types of players out there that were looking forward to a slower paced Call of Duty, or at least just slower paced than what we've had in the past few years where things have gotten pretty crazy. I think there does need to be a balance there, and even as somebody that likes a lot of movement, I do feel they've taken it a little too far in that direction to the point where it totally dominates the skill gap, at least in recent years of Call of Duty. And that has pushed a ton of players away. I get comments all the time from people that used to like Call of Duty, but it got too fast for them. and they're not interested in playing a pure movement shooter. And so I am just curious to see how that all balances out over time. I'm personally really looking forward to getting my hands on this. It definitely looks super smooth, especially with those animation transitions, which excites me. But I think we'll just have to wait for the beta to see how it all plays out once it's in the hands of the community. And that wraps it up for the full quality clips that we got with that video they uploaded. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty details, mainly focusing on like monitors in the background where we can see little bits of footage or screenshots. And the first clip I wanted to focus on here is this one here. We can actually see a few monitors playing the game, and a little bit more on top of that. But the main one I wanted to focus on is on the bottom right there, because we can see the gun firing here in first person. It looks like it's from a Killcam, and there's a few other details to talk about. But the first thing that caught my eye is the amount of muzzle smoke that we're seeing when firing the gun. And that was a big complaint throughout Modern Warfare 2's life cycle. Not only muzzle smoke, but also muzzle flash and unnecessary gun and screen shake when firing your gun. That wasn't the actual recoil that your gun was experiencing. It was purely visual, and it just made seeing and tracking targets that much more difficult when all of those things were stacked. And when it comes to the muzzle smoke, it often felt like we were firing black powder rounds. And based on what I'm seeing there, while it doesn't look like there's a ton of gun shake or screen shake, it does appear there's a fair amount of smoke when firing your gun. And so definitely curious to see more, but that's a little concerning. And we did hear from a few content creators that it did seem like there was a bit too much smoke. So perhaps that's something that will still be adjusted by the time we get our hands on it, but time will tell on that. In addition to that though, something I found interesting is with this being apparently a kill cam, on the top right of the screen there, it looks like kill cams may be showing the exact multiplier zone that you were shot in by the enemy player. And I'm totally on board with that. It may help you better understand what happened in that gunfight. And then on top of that, it appears to show the gun that the enemy was using, the attachments that were on that gun, and a breakdown of the damage dealt to you and the number of shots that actually hit you. So that's looking good so far. Now, additionally, from that same clip, we can see some monitors in the background. And the first one here appears to be showing just the main multiplayer menu. And I believe on the left there is your game mode selection. And interestingly, it looks like they got rid of the characters just endlessly walking and then just swapping to multiple views. We got the character just sitting there, which I'm glad to see. It's been too many years of that menu where the enemy is just walking in a straight line with the camera panning all around them. It may seem minor, but I was honestly just getting so sick of that. And it's just one of many elements over the years that made each game not feel as new and fresh as it should have felt. And then on the other monitor, we can see another view. Appears to be the same screen, just like the game mode selection screen if I had to guess. And we can see a player, it looks like sitting in a helicopter. So it does look like there will be multiple views and stuff. It's not just like the same view every time. It just appears they got rid of that endless walking animation. Now to that, we see this little clip here. We can see Joe Seacott with an ace slide around the corner to challenge an enemy. And then in the next clip, we can see the character activating some form of equipment, or perhaps it's a field upgrade or kill streak. I don't know exactly what it is. Could be a grenade of some sort, but the character is twisting the top and presumably activating whatever that is. Then for the next one, this is a spectating screen, and we can just see a partial reload on a Desert Eagle, and that's looking pretty nice. Then here we get a bit of a look at the bottom right of the HUD while playing, and it looks like this character is using an LMG. Really nothing too shocking here. It is your standard bottom right HUD, but it's got a very different style to what we've seen in many recent Call of Duty games, although Black Ops 7 did also fully redesign that. But it's nice to see that this is visually very unique from what we've seen in recent years. After that, it looks like we're getting a bit of a sneak peek here at what Kill Block is going to look like. And this has been described as a map where it has 3 sections that change on a round-to-round basis, and you never know which combination of 3 map sections you're going to be getting, so it's going to play different every single round. And they mentioned there's up to 500 unique combinations with this, and so that's what it appears they're showing off here. And you can see when they zoom out, there's just so many of these individual map sections that could pop up for you. Then after that, we get our first look at the Created Class screen here. And while it's a little bit blurry, we can't quite see everything, you can clearly see there's the operator at the top. We've got the primary, secondary weapon, dedicated melee slot. Then it appears you have your lethal, tactical, field upgrade, 3 perks, and then finally your 3 kill streaks, because they have confirmed in the past that your kill streaks are tied to each individual loadout. And the 3 kill streaks here appear to be called Argonaut, Artillery Beacon, and Bomb Glider. And I also really like the aesthetics of this screen as well, with the operator standing there. Again, each of these loadouts will have the unique operator, and they'll be holding the gun that you're using. I think that looks really nice and unique from what we've had in many recent years. And just as I was about to render this video, they also uploaded this image here, so we get an actual clean image of our created class. And the structure is exactly how I described it there. And this one is using the Ghost operator. That looks amazing. I'm really liking the overall look of this. This looks like a truly new and unique Call of Duty with none of the same aesthetics that we've been used to in recent years, and I'm loving that. This was desperately needed for Call of Duty. Also, interestingly, there's 66 levels on the M4, so it looks like very high level count. Hopefully the grind for that isn't too ridiculously long, but time will tell on that. Another thing they have mentioned in the past, the Riot Shield is going to be a field upgrade this time around, and they're showing that there. And it looks like Stim Shot is returning in the tactical slot. Then after that, we see the splash screen for a victory, and also a new game mode here called Inflation, where it appears the goal is to collect as much cash as possible. And once again, as we saw in a previous video that we talked about, they do show your eliminations and deaths on the bottom of the screen when you hover over a character, and then your elimination death ratio, but then the scoreboard shows actual kills. Although this one, unlike the team deathmatch screen that we've seen, doesn't show deaths or assists on the main scoreboard area. You'll have to hover over each character in order to see that, as far as I can tell. But overall, I think that's looking quite good. Then right here, just wanted to show this because you can see the full HUD in the background, although it is a little bit blurry. Overall, as I said, it looks like the general structure to the HUD is very normal for a Call of Duty. Nothing too surprising there, but it does appear to be at least aesthetically redesigned. And then finally, one last clip to point out here as they're walking through the playtesting area. We got a few monitors showing off some gameplay, and on the left, once again, we do see a player shooting in first person, and again, it does appear there's a fair amount of muzzle smoke there. It also appears that character is wearing some sort of a mask, and you can see that around the edges of your screen. And then another thing I noticed on the screen on the right-hand side, the player is taking damage, and that red jelly that's showing up when you get shot does appear to be very prominent. It does appear to be covering quite a bit of the screen there. And also, just judging by what I'm seeing on the HUD, although it is blurry, I think there is a chance they're actually playing DMZ here. Could be totally wrong on that. That is just my guess. And with all of that covered, that's finally going to wrap it up for all of the little details I could pick out from that video. Once again, I'm so surprised we're seeing this much this early on, especially relating to multiplayer. I would also highly encourage you to actually watch the video and hear what they have to say for themselves. It definitely appears that they are shifting their direction a little bit here, and it was nice to see them even specifically mention that they're going to be dropping the ego on this and being more open to listening to feedback. Obviously, those are just words at this point, and actions speak louder than words, but it is sounding and looking good so far based on what we've seen and heard. But of course, these are just my opinions, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about all of this information and the movement and everything in those comments down below. Is this getting you more excited or maybe less excited for the game? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.